This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.
Okay, well, Maggie, our chair, finished out her term at the end of December. So I think in order to begin the meeting, we'll have to have somebody volunteer to be the interim chair tonight for the purposes of running this meeting. So that's to you, Beth and Amy.
Oh, we already did this.
Does that mean Amy's
You're
going
like
to be it
one
tonight?
of 5. How do you not go instantly to touching your nose? I don't understand. I'm only one of 2.
I am like I've had a day. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm trying to be very present, but I'm like stressed out. Hi.
If you've
No,
had a
it's okay.
day, I will do it. But can someone send me the disclaimer and the things that Maggie used to say?
I don't have one written out. Basically, you just say we're recording, public speak, 15 minutes, 3 minutes each, and the board will not respond to anyone talking, and the person's public speak is addressed to the board only. And then
Okay.
I'll get an official document. I didn't think about it until 5 minutes before the meeting. I'll get an official one and print it out, and whoever is going to be the permanent one, I'll send it to. Sorry.
Okay. I will wing it.
Yeah, sorry.
What do I call myself? The interim chair?
Yep.
Until we can vote. Yeah, okay. Beth?
Shall we call the meeting to order?
Wait, have we let people in yet?
Is there anybody else waiting?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, there might be. Let me see. Nope, I have a. Yep, it looks like everybody there's nobody in the queue.
Okay. So I'll make a motion to start today's Board of Health meeting on January 17th, 2024 at 5:33 p.m.
I second out of necessity. All in favor?
Beth, yes.
Amy, yes. All right. With that, I will call to order the Board of Health meeting on Wednesday, January 17th at 5:33 p.m. My name is Amy Petrosky. I'm the interim chair of the Board of Health, and I'd like to let everybody know who might be here that we are recording. If you are recording, please let us know. We will have public comment time. Everybody will get 3 minutes for that comment time. The Board of Health will not respond during that comment time, but we may discuss what you have to say later in this meeting. Is there anybody here for public comment? All right, then I will pass it to Allison for the first agenda item.
Okay, the first agenda item would be the approval, excuse me, for meeting minutes from November 15th, 2023.
Beth, with the only 2 of us, I shouldn't be the one making motions, so you'll have to make all the motions.
Oh, okay. All right. I apologize. So I will make a motion to accept the meeting minutes from our last meeting. Hold on, let me get the date. 11/15/2023.
I will second that motion out of necessity. All in favor?
Beth, yes.
Amy, yes.
Okay, Brian is not here tonight. He had the day off for a vacation day. It's his wife's birthday. Happy birthday to her. So I'll be doing the director's report and the health agent's report tonight. And then Hunter Pelkey is here as well to give a report on happenings in the Healthy Youth Coalition. So I'll go ahead and start. My report was pretty brief. Liz Plouffe, our social worker, is back full-time on a hybrid schedule. There's one work from home day and a community day, which I think are great things to implement for efficiency, and as well as some office days as well. So we're really grateful to have Liz back in a full-time capacity, and the work has, come quickly and in abundance. So thanks, Liz, for coming back. And the babies are 5 months, so time has just flown, really. The part-time position, inspector position is still open. We did have 2 folks we were going to interview last week. One of them dropped out because she got another job offer, and the other one canceled due to illness. I'm not sure if that's been rescheduled or if there's any plan to reschedule that interview. But in speaking with Emily from HR and Lindsay in the mayor's office, we're going to do another big push for posting that position. It's a fully benefited 20 to 25 hour position. So I feel like it's pretty attractive, but it could have been a case of it being posted right before Thanksgiving, and just people not really looking for jobs during the holidays. So hopefully we'll get some good candidates in for that position.
Allison, I'm happy to sit in on any of those interviews.
Right.
Just since I have done this for so long, but
Yeah.
also before we repost, I would really highly recommend having a conversation with Northampton about some shared service arrangements. It will save the community money. It will allow for more efficiency and effectiveness of our inspection work. And it will allow for like a ramp up and de-escalation if there were ever to be another emergency in our community. And
yeah, so Amy, so I did reach out to the newly hired inspectors through the Northampton PHE group, and I didn't get a good sense of like how much time like regularly they'd be able to offer, but that's definitely in our like purview to lean on them a bit to get our inspections up and to get some additional capacity. Do you have a good idea of
Well, I think we're part of the shared service arrangement with funding from the state to pay for those inspectional services that Northampton offers anyways. What I'm suggesting is a conversation between you and the Northampton Health Director to talk about us contracting with them instead of hiring someone. The city saves money on all of the benefits. We might have to pay Northampton some overhead because they might have to up an inspector salary, but we benefit greatly from like utilizing the employees of another community. And I don't know if Meredith has the staffing to be able to accommodate that, but if they might be thinking about hiring a part-time inspector and we are thinking about hiring a part-time inspector, the field is so decimated in terms of like what's on the market for people, for workforce, that if we were to able to offer together a full-time salary, we're still saving on the benefits and we are attracting much better, much more qualified folks who are looking for a full-time job, who might be drawn from another community looking to work for like one of the shared service arrangements or like a more shared service arrangement. So I mean, I'm happy to be part of the conversation if you wanted to reach out to Meredith to see if she's willing to even entertain the idea.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's a fantastic idea.
Before we repost and put all that effort and energy into it, I think we would save ourselves a lot of money and get better services that way.
Great suggestion.
Yeah, let me know how I can help.
I will. Thank you. Let's see here. So flu in, just like a very brief update on flu and COVID clinics. So those have concluded. The Northampton group let us know that we could host another clinic or two if we wanted to, or if we felt there was a desire from the community. And so far, Chris, I'm not sure that we've had many requests for bigger clinics, but you've been taking care of the homebound vaccines.
Yes. Yeah.
In your
right
normal
now,
schedule.
I don't have any on the list right now because the last one I had ended up getting COVID. And so that's 90 days out at this point. So,
yeah.
Christine, I have a question for you.
Sure.
So I know, and I'm not a nurse, so I'll just start with that disclaimer.
No.
But I know the senior population sometimes is able or wants to get a second vaccine later in the year if the extra super dose for seniors wasn't available, which it often isn't at the start of the year. Would there be any benefit to planning a flu vaccine clinic specifically maybe with our senior center or just for maybe some of our homebound folks? I don't even know when we would do it, but I'm sure you would know when the right time is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great idea also. And I'll reach out to the senior center just to see if they want to try like another one, because there might have been people that missed it because they had COVID back in December or, you know, and then also maybe when we do that, maybe send like a flyer to all the Easthampton housing people, and maybe just saying, if you are homebound, please let me know and we can go to your home and get that done for you.
Yeah, and letting people know that they can have a second flu vaccine to help bring them through the end of the season. Like some people may not know that that's a thing for, I don't know what the age bracket is. Again, I'm not a nurse, but I know there is a cutoff that like they do recommend that second vaccine if you didn't get the souped up dose early, right?
Yeah, I honestly, I think it depends which vaccine you got, number one, and how long ago you got it. And I would have to check the particulars on that. But I can certainly look into that. I think it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, especially with the way respiratory viruses have been this season.
Oh, awful.
Been awful.
I heard Bay State had 85 people in the hallway admitted with no beds for them yesterday. So it's crazy.
Oof,
Yeah.
that's really intense. Yeah. And the Council on Aging, the clinic we held with them was full. I don't think there were any appointments available. There was definitely demand at the time. So yeah, let's float it by Council on Aging.
Sure.
And then I wonder too, Chris, could we, what Amy was saying just kind of jogged an idea in my head. For the folks at the Council on Aging that use the van transportation services, could we try to do like a intentional outreach to those folks for the homebound vaccine option as well? Because the van service, I'm not sure if it would necessarily be able to bring people to the bigger clinic at the Council on Aging, but might be a good option to like hand out flyers on the van or have them posted on the van just so people can know that that's an option.
Sure. That sounds great.
Before we move off the vaccines, as a resident, I just want to say thank you to the Board of Health. My son really greatly enjoyed the pediatric vaccine booster clinic you had for COVID. Well, the folks you had working it were fantastic.
Yeah, they were very good.
They were supportive, they were efficient, they were effective. Some kids were clearly having challenges, which some do. And they really tried to move folks in so the kids weren't exposed to like the folks that were having really difficult times. So they weren't getting scared as well. So you guys did an amazing job. It was really well run and I benefited from it. So thank you.
Good to hear. I'll pass it on.
Yeah, and I got my vaccine at one of the clinics as well. And again, really impressed with the team. And yeah, it was a really good vaccine year for us, but it's a worse respiratory season than we've ever seen, I think, besides the peak of COVID. So we're trudging along. So any more questions, or I'll move on to Brian's health agent update. And two, you can follow along on the written update that I sent out, but because this is Brian's update, I'll probably read it pretty closely. So Brian wanted to point out that we've had a really steady flow of housing complaints and inspections going on this winter season. I think it started to pick up in November and it's been really consistent. Every week we get a couple. We have 13 active housing cases right now. And we wanted to point out specifically the housing case at 97 Ferry Street in Unit 1. It's the floor unit of a 3-family flat. We are going to housing court. Brian's going to housing court with our building commissioner, BJ Church, on January 22nd to try to resolve or mediate a major ongoing issue with that group. To give you a little bit of a background on sort of like the events that have transpired. So I think it was back in, I want to say early November, we received a complaint from the first floor tenants that water was leaking through from the second floor unit down into the first floor bathroom. And the leaking was happening. It was like bowing the ceiling tile. And at one point there was like a major gush of leaking fluid right over the toilet of the first floor tenant's bathroom. And so it was making the bathroom really difficult to use. It was making it extremely unsanitary. And so Brian conducted the first inspection on November 8th and determined that there was a ceiling tile missing, major water damage to the subfloor, and the joists going across the floor. He identified this visually. It was pretty obvious seeing the rot and the water damage and leaking plumbing happening from the second floor, or we assume from the second floor, but we did not inspect the second floor unit at that point to try to find the source of the leak. And then let's see, we had a correction date set at December 12th, and I attempted to go out to the scheduled housing inspection. Nobody was present. I called the property manager, and they had forgotten about the inspection and said the work hasn't been done anyways, and they needed an extension. And so we granted an extension, I think, by about a week. And on December 14th, we went back out for an inspection. And we looked at the first floor unit and the second floor unit. The floor had been opened up, like the toilet had been taken out on the second floor, and the floor had been opened up, the subfloor removed. And so now the second floor tenants were out of the bathroom, and they were having all this work done by an unlicensed contractor and hadn't gone through the appropriate permitting process with the building department to get this work done. And so we had lots of back and forth about what their steps were going to be to remediate the issue and take corrective action with the tenants. At this point, it's still not corrected. I don't think a permit has been issued at this point yet. And there's been a lot of back and forth. So that
what date was the inspection conducted on?
So the initial inspection or the most recent one?
Both.
November 8th was the initial one, and then December 14th was the next one that we went in to do the inspection.
I'm sure Brian knows this, but 750 no bathroom is a 24-hour violation, and the residents are supposed to be removed. So if we're not doing that, we're actually putting liability on the town. So why isn't that regulation being followed?
So the first floor tenants were given the option by the landlord to move.
There's not an option. No, there's not an option. It's a minimum standard for human habitation. We don't care what the residents and the landlord work out. We can't allow someone to live in a unit that doesn't have a working bathroom or hot water or all the things that come from that. We're putting our town at a liability if we're not following that. So I don't understand why that's not being done.
So it is being done. The second floor tenants were relocated that night into an agreed upon suitable alternative housing arrangement with the landlord. I will say that that was my sense with the housing code, that's the approach we should take. Brian reached out to the former director to see if we were able to impose that requirement with the second floor tenant. And they said because there wasn't an active complaint from the second floor tenant, because we were responding to the complaint from the first floor tenant and the leaking ceiling, that we wouldn't be able to impose that necessarily as a requirement for the landlord with the second floor tenant. We did impose it for the first floor, and second floor did get alternative housing through the landlord, but yeah, we were sort of following that guidance. And
but that's not true. That's not accurate though.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if we know about someone who has a violation under 750, that's 24 hours. And then we need to act. So I don't know. Maybe we could talk offline about like some of the really critical requirements that we should make sure that we're following, especially when it comes to something as critical as a violations under 750.
Yeah. So so neither of the apartments have been occupied, I believe, since the 15th of December. And so Yeah. But yeah, let's
Okay.
talk offline, Amy, because I feel like I'm getting direction in different ways from different
Have you called
people.
DPH?
What's that?
Have you called DPH for guidance? Like I know I trust Bree and I like Bree a lot, but
Yeah.
you know, if there's questions about resident safety and sanitation, like a bathroom, DPH, the community sanitation program, is always available to help support in situations like that.
Yeah.
So if you guys need contacts over there, I'm happy to help with that.
Okay.
But it's certainly whether they complain or not. I mean, if a resident complains and then they move for whatever reason, the resident, they can't reoccupy that dwelling without us clearing it, right? And that new resident isn't making the complaint, but we know a violation exists.
Yeah.
Even a nominal violation, never mind a violation that is a human threat.
Yeah, and that was my sense. That was my sense. And then the guidance we received. Yeah, so I would love the contacts at DPH. I'm feeling better that the tenants have been relocated since the day following that inspection. But yeah, I guess to go forward and maintain that, some additional guidance would be great.
Great.
Just making a quick note and then okay. So let's see here. There's a new establishment, Nourish Wellness Cafe, moving into Eastworks. They serve vegan and vegetarian options such as juices, grain bowls, and so they have an additional location in Northampton, but opening a new one in Easthampton. Brian has walked them through the new establishment, the new food establishment process, and I believe, Jackie, correct me if I'm wrong, their paperwork and everything is in place, or it should be, or not yet. Okay.
I don't have any paperwork. That doesn't mean that it's not on Brian's desk,
Yeah.
but I haven't even seen the plan review with new establishments like them. And then there's Local Burger, which is Brian was going to be reaching out to yesterday. They're going to be going into the Riffs location. They haven't reached out yet to Brian. We just discussed it yesterday. He mentioned that he saw it on Facebook. I didn't have to bring it to his attention. He saw it. And he said they're looking to open early February, and they haven't reached out to us for a plan review, new ownership, and presumably some redoing of the restaurant to meet their suitability. They haven't reached out yet. So Brian may have the plan review for Nourish, but
I'm
I
pretty
don't
sure they
have the
did their
check.
meeting last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't have a check for it yet. I don't know if he asked for one, but I don't have it.
Okay.
That's going into the old 121 club at Eastworks, if anyone cares.
Let's see here. And there's Annie's Kitchen, which is similar to Lovebird Cafe and Luthier's or the Den inside Amy's place. I'm not sure what he meant by that. Let's see here. And Brian will, I'm not sure if, go ahead.
Oh, it was just the Pulaski Club. That's going to be where they operate out of Pulaski Club.
Yes, yes.
But the kitchen isn't run by Pulaski Club. It's going to be a separate entity.
Okay, got it. And for those of you who don't know, Brian and his wife are having a baby in June, and so he will be on paternity leave for 12 weeks over the summer as well. And so we're hoping to have part-time inspectional services and for me to get more up to speed with inspectional services to sort of meet that gap over the summertime. And that's it for Brian's update. Is there any questions or comments? Okay. And so next we have the update from Hunter for the Easthampton Health Youth Coalition.
Hello. Feel free to stop me at any point because I'm probably going to be rambling on for a couple minutes. So I just want to update you guys on where we are in terms of what work we've been doing this month primarily, although I haven't really communicated to either of you what we've done during the past couple months while I've been here. But this month we've been preparing for our compliance checks that we're hoping to run in February or March is my goal. So that's me contacting schools like STIC, HCC, UMass, seeing what students we can get to be our decoys. That's what we call them, and working with an officer named Andrew over at the police station to run those. So that's one thing. We have, I wish I wrote this all down for you guys. I have it in front of me here. I am unfamiliar with this medium, so bear with me. I have reapplied for ELF grants for a program we were running before called Mindfulness Mondays, which is just gives middle schoolers an opportunity to decompress with mindful instructors per se. So we get yo-yo people, karate, dance, yoga, etc., to come in on Mondays during the students free block. It's open for students to just come and decompress, learn these new techniques and everything. So we secured funding for that. We'll be receiving that funding from ELF at the end of this month or beginning of February, they said. Although we have some rollover from last year, so even if we receive it at the beginning of February, I want to have the programs going beginning in the start of February. Tomorrow we have a Narcan Train the Trainers event for our staff and coalition partners and executive committee members. So Train the Trainer, we're doing it with Learn to Cope. It's basically to get us able to train other people in Narcan use. So it's not just your average Narcan training. It's for we can go out and then train other people for how to use Narcan, which I would like to do for the city hall at large and whoever else is interested in the community and attending something like that once we are all trained and equipped for that. So we've also been updating the budget for the coalition due to the personnel change that should be going into effect sometime soon, hopefully. We are pretty much finalizing it now. And then I have a bunch of different projects kind of all around on the back burners. Two that I'm excited for. One's a community-based program per se. Not a program, an event. I've started talking with Owen Zaret and some other members of the community who are interested in having a battle of the bands, because we in Easthampton have a lot of these music events and everything, but I want to have something that kids, not kids, but students can participate in, but also community members who are interested in who don't have these big platforms to actually share themselves. They have something, this one day, which hopefully, everybody in the community will go to, attend and enjoy. And sort of with that, I would be doing that as probably in partnership. I'm still trying to work out who I would do it in partnership with in terms of a nonprofit in the area to do with opioid recovery or something along those lines to fundraise for them. So that's one thing. And then one other project that I'm sort of working towards is, we established those Narcan boxes around town. I would like to see sharp collection or the sharp containers around town for needles. And that's not just people who might be using needles for opioids and stuff. That's also people who have diabetes and are inconvenient by the fact that they have to carry their used needles with them and everything like that. So I'm trying to reach out to the fire department right now to see if they're interested in collaborating over that. And yeah. any questions about any of that. I know that was a lot.
No, it sounds great, Hunter. Thank you for all the work that you're doing in our community. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks, Hunter.
Appreciate it.
Okay, moving on to late permit renewals. And I apologize, my internet's cutting out here and there, so if I go off camera, I'm still here. Just want to let everybody know that. So we've got 2, Jackie, right, outstanding permit renewals
Yeah,
besides Mission,
Republic.
actually.
Republic Waste Haulers has, for the last 10 years, 9 of those years have been late every year renewing. Usually it's a phone call or an email from higher up, because I do my thing up to a certain point and then they need a title, and that's Bree, Jackie, Allison, whoever the person is, to step in. And they will typically come forward and, FedEx me the application and the permit fee. They've been crickets. We have reached out, emailed, phone called, and Allison is doing it, and they're not replying to her. Now, Republic is a big one. They're typically commercial. They don't do like the house, residential trash pickups. They have a history of issues in other communities, but as of today, they've not given us any indication that they want to renew their permit.
Yeah, and there's been follow-up from Jackie, Brian, and myself, I would say 5 or 6 times in the last 2 weeks.
And they're not responding. They're operating without a permit.
Yeah.
I suggested to Allison to look into a cease and desist.
Yep.
Maybe that would get their attention. They were told last week, I believe, that their permit or lack of permit would be on the agenda for today, and they did not respond. So I'm not quite sure what to do
And
with that.
additionally, that it would be our next step to issue a cease and desist as well. So,
I mean,
Amy,
there has to be I mean, our attorney must have a process for this. I mean, in the communities that I work, you issue a cease and desist, and if they continued operating, I mean, you could issue a fine for every day of noncompliance, right? So every day they don't have their permit, they can keep operating in town, but we're going to issue a $1,000 fine for every day of noncompliance. I don't know what the code says, because both my communities didn't have this specific permit, but the code specifies exactly what the consequence is for operating without a permit.
Brian. Yep, Brian and I reviewed that. I think it's $100 per violation, and I think we could institute that for like a day-to-day.
Well, I would talk to the attorney. Is a per violation per community, per residence that they service without a license? So is it every single house that they service every single day, or is it per day? Right.
and they have multiple trucks. So when we issue a permit, you get one, they have to tell us how many trucks they're going to have traipsing through our community.
Yeah.
They typically have anywhere from 12 to 18 trucks. Could the fine be per truck per day?
Yeah.
Oh, do we license each truck, or do they just
Each
tell us?
one's permitted. Yep. Each one's permitted separately, and then the organization as a whole.
So then what I would do is take the I forget what it's called. It's been a really long time. The penalty section of the code, send it over to the city solicitor, and ask them what is the legal way to enforce this regulation, because we have someone who's still not permitted, and then follow their guidance, because we need to start doing something. I mean,
we're 2 weeks into the Yep.
And the only other time that we had this kind of an issue, it was a one-man operation. he stopped working and he just didn't bother telling us. I mean, I chased him down and we just, we ended up going back roads, but we found out he went out of business. But
Yep.
Republic, as far as I know, is still in business. They operate everywhere.
Yeah, they're a big company. Go with the Float is on the list, but we received their application and late fee today. And 7-Eleven only sent in paperwork for the renewal of their tobacco permit, and is still outstanding for their food permit. So they've received the same reminders and the notice
about
that
milk
our
and-
next step
Did they
is
send in milk and cream?
Oh, I'm sorry, you cut out a little bit there,
Oh,
Amy.
sorry.
Or
Did
I
they send
did.
in their milk and cream?
They're a risk 2. I don't
Yep.
think, I think they're a risk 2, maybe a risk 3 now. I have to look at my paperwork. So
Yeah.
they've got, they do like pizzas in a microwave kind of thing.
Yeah, some
and
prepared foods. Yep.
So
yeah,
milk and cream is a permit that's supposed to be issued to anybody who sells milk or cream. So do they have one of those?
yeah. Well, it would go under risk 1, risk 2, risk 3. That would be if for our permitting purposes, it would be risk 2. They're elevated to risk 3 because they've added other food, which would incorporate dairy, milk and cream. But they've been permitted in the past. They didn't submit the application for renewal, and their tobacco, while they submitted an application for renewal and a fee, it did not include the late fee, which they were late. Allison has reached out to them a couple of times, and told them that their tobacco permit is not renewed at this point because they haven't paid in full. So they're on hold. They haven't paid and haven't, another one who hasn't reached out. They used to be franchise local. Now they're, I think, if I'm not mistaken, Texas, but don't quote me on that one. So I had suggested reaching out to the Tobacco Coalition to find out what we do with them, because aside from food, there's tobacco. That's a big one.
So they submit, I just want to make sure I'm understanding properly. Sorry. So they submitted their tobacco permit, but they submit the full cost of the tobacco permit. And they did
Right.
not submit the renewal for the food permit. And this is
Right.
2 weeks past due.
Yeah. Wait, well, it's 17 days because today's the 17th. It was due renew licenses, permits, effectiveness is January 1st.
Oh, so all their permits are expired.
Yeah.
Even their tobacco. So, I mean, each regulation has a very specific penalty section for each of the violations. I think we just need to start following them. So I don't know, Allison, if you want, you should take a look at the codes and then work through what it is that we're supposed to be doing in order to enforce these regulations.
I've never, in the 10 plus years doing the permitting, I've never had anyone so blatantly just ignore us.
Yeah.
Yes, paperwork gets lost, waste management, they never send it by the 1st. We get a FedEx, like the 5th or 6th or something. It's just habitual for them. But they do say, oh, I'm sorry, it got lost, blah, blah, blah. At least they communicate that we're working on it. These people have not responded to Allison at all. And not me, Allison, with a
So
title.
7-Eleven, when I sent out I think my original communication, maybe a week and a half ago, they did overnight FedEx their application for the tobacco permit. And then I reached out to them that day and said, you're missing the late fee. We're not able to process this application until we receive the late fee. And additionally, you need to submit your application. Sent them the application again for the food permit and requested that they, have it to us by a set date. If not,
Have you
they'll
done
be
a
on the
site
board.
visit?
I haven't done a site visit. No.
Okay, so I think you got to get out there and you say,
Yeah.
I can come back with a big orange sign that says closed per the Board of Health, or
Yeah.
you could renew your permit. In all my years, I've never found someone choose the big orange sign that says this location has been closed by the Board of Health instead of paying their permit. So I think getting on site and really talking to the people there so they can get into corporate and say, we really need to pay our permit is really going to be a value or an asset. And I mean, it could be Brian, but I think the director getting out there and like reiterating what Brian's
I'm happy
saying.
to, I can do that tomorrow. Yep.
The only other one we have is Mission Taco. The application is on my desk. Check for the original renewal fee, 350 is there. It was late. They didn't include the late fee. I reached out with emails and phone calls saying, do you want me to hold on to this check and you'll give me the balance of $35? Or do you want me to void this and you'll send one for the correct total altogether? And I sent, that was on the 9th, I think I did the first one. And I did emails and phone calls again today and I haven't heard back from them.
Yeah,
I'm not quite
I think
sure.
we could process
what-
their permit and have Brian or Allison go down with the permit in hand and say, you can have this when you write us a check for whatever the late fee is. Here's your permit, but you can't have it yet. We got to like going into these places is really going to show them how serious we are with working through this. I mean, we don't want to withhold or like hurt someone's business due to like them making a mistake with, I mean, I feel like the Mission Taco situation is a little bit different than like just blatantly not sending anything in, like
Right.
the trash. Like they're just obviously missed the deadline and are for whatever reason, maybe they are really busy or they're short staffed, which everybody is right now. If we go down there, we have their permit in our hands, say you're short $30, we can write you a receipt or you can give us a check right now. They're probably gonna come into compliance.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So I apologize. I think
What-
go ahead.
So one question that I have is, it's just occurring to me as I sit here and I think through kind of like what we're experiencing in terms of like the codes and the regulations, that Easthampton has is a massive camp environment. Like we have so many camps, and I'm timelining the due date of Brian's
Yeah.
child, and we still don't have an inspector. And I don't think that you're an environmental health professional. So like, what is Easthampton's plan for these camps? Because we can leave liability off the table. Just like really fundamentally that there are going to be children in our community who are going to be going to camp and their parents are expecting that these camps are going to be inspected per the Massachusetts Camp Code. What is our plan? Do we have a plan?
So for me, I'm in the training process of getting my RS. And
that won't be done by June, right? Will it be done by June?
it might be done by June. So there's like the training program and then the exam. I think it depends on when they offer the exam this year. But our plan, I mean, that's something we're sort of still working on, is do we reach out to the Northampton regional inspectors and request them specifically for that time period to conduct those bigger labor intensive camp inspections during that time period. Brian will familiarize me with the process before he leaves, but and we'll also have to include Chris, our new public health nurse, and get her trained up for the process. She's never been through as well. So yeah, I mean,
It's
that's
food truck season.
What'd
what's
you
that,
say,
Jackie?
It's food truck season. That's big time for, I mean, I do the camp permits. You know, Brian says, here, this one, just give me the permit and I'll issue or not when I get there. But the food trucks, that's inspection labor intensive as well. All at the same time. That's why they hate that season.
I mean, Beth, I don't know if you recall the conversations we've had with Bree over the last couple of years and just the demand and the challenges that the camps have offered the health department in terms of like the challenges that have been presented to the staff. And I'm worried about Allison being the only person really here in this summer to handle those challenges. And Jackie, you bring up another great point about the challenges of the extra demands that the food truck season brings with all of the extra inspections that need to happen. I think we need to make a plan sooner rather than later, because camp applications are going to start coming in.
Yeah.
And also we can't rely on the RS until we know what day. I mean,
Yeah.
even if you get your RS, if you haven't done a camp inspection, it's going to be that much more demanding on you.
Yeah, exactly.
To do that. And, you know, I think the residents of this town deserve camps that have been inspected and are safe for their kids. I mean, as someone who has kids who are going to be in camps this summer,
Absolutely.
when I send my kid to camp, I expected to have it inspected to the code. So I really think we should talk. I mean, I'm happy also to talk offline about this, but we should make a plan, because these are going to start coming in fast and furious, usually right after the first of the year, Jackie, right? Like within the next month, they start coming in.
Well, Brian, Bree, whoever, start sending out the applications and then the PowerPoint display to walk them through the application process. And then you'll start to see them come in March, April, May, and then it's fast and furious when they start opening. They're all at the same time. And then at that same junction, you have the food trucks wanting, because nicer weather's coming, they want their trucks permitted. And we're up to 15 to 25 trucks annually now, food trucks in the city. And then all the temporary food events. You've got Thunder in the Valley in June with no inspector.
Allison, I wonder if it's possible to get Christine like pre-trained.
Majewski.
I'm sorry?
Is it Christine Majewski?
Our nurse.
Oh, Christine, our nurse.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Pre-trained with maybe some of the nurses from Northampton, or even, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Yeah.
You know, like they could review with her, like what you look for vaccination records. I mean, it's hard to do a camp vaccinate. You pick the kids, right? And then you're looking at their vaccination schedule from the doctors and making sure that the timeline is right, the right vaccinations for the right age. So if we start to get her trained while it's kind of like it's not a low season for public health nurses due to all the respiratory viruses that are happening, but maybe there's someone in a surrounding community can help to get her up to speed prior to kind of the onslaught.
And I wonder if I could do the same thing too with the Northampton, now that they have the inspectors on board. Do you know, I wonder.
I highly recommend reaching out to, I mean, you can reach out to Meredith to get permission to reach out to Donna Bowman, but she's my inspector. So I know her camp inspections are on point. So maybe she could walk you through like the camp review process. Anyone from community sanitation could walk you through the camp inspection form to like, it's a standardized form, really just like ensuring that like each question is answered, not leaving it blank, and really walking through the elements, ensuring that any camp that has a pool is also getting a pool license and a pool inspection. But you could certainly, in advance of these applications starting to come in, work with some surrounding communities to get up to speed.
Great.
Are we hiring another health inspector?
Well, we talked about this earlier. We're supposed to get a part-time inspector, but I think the interviews, they had two candidates. One withdrew and one was sick. And I really suggested that instead of reposting this position, we talked to Northampton about looking to.
Oh, right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Great. Okay. Sorry, I'm just taking notes. All right, that sounds good. That's a good idea too, to get some pre-training for Chris and I through either Northampton, if that's a possibility, or also the environmental folks at DPH. Let me see. Do you know if they'll be offering like a camp, like a pre-camp season training or anything through the Office of Local Public Health?
Usually community sanitation through the Bureau of Climate and Environmental Health does a spring training. They call it like they do like a spring session where they'll talk about any changes to the code for camps or pools. it's not like an in-depth training where like they teach you how to review the field training hub that Bree's running. Well, no, they're just doing food and housing right now. You could reach out to community sanitation and see if there's someone who could help walk you through it. Or reach out to the Office of Local Regional Health and ask for a subject matter expert to be assigned to you. There's a technical assistance request form that's on our website that you could request an SME support, and they could spend hours with you.
Oh, nice.
For free at our expense, reviewing the inspection form and the critical components of it. That might be a really good place to start.
Yeah, that's a great suggestion. I didn't know that was an option. I will definitely do that. And we can do that with Chris too. Make sure she's up to speed.
We don't have nursing technical assistants yet. So nursing, I would
Okay.
suggest going to Northampton. I could see if we could get some nursing technical assistance, but I really think people who have done it for years is your best bet. Because what we'll do, we'll set you up with someone who's been in the field for 30 years, who's retired, who has done these types of inspections forever, who can sit there and walk you through each element and what to look for.
Great. That's awesome. Thank you.
Can I add a thought on this? I live in Southampton, and we have someone part-time through the health department here that does all the restaurants and stuff. I'm just wondering if we're in a jam, if it makes sense to offer him like a contracted, can you do our food trucks kind of thing? Because he has all the certifications to do it. And maybe as like a neighboring community, it might be quick if Northampton doesn't. Like Northampton might run into the same needs with capacity, but Southampton has, like, I don't even know if we might have, well, I think we have a couple camps, but like not to the volume that Easthampton does. And so if it's something where like either handling camps or handling food trucks, I'm sure our public health director in town could see, if he thinks he has 10 hours a week to offer kind of thing, just to get the ball rolling before Brian goes out and gets them done.
That's great. And I don't know, do we still have money in the budget for Chris Majewski and Bree?
Yeah, we have some. We have some limited professional services funds left, but I think it should be sufficient to cover several inspections, especially if it's like an event where there would be, multiple food trucks getting inspected at the same time.
Maybe you could talk. I don't know how it works in Easthampton, but your line item for your assistant or your part-time inspector clearly wasn't filled, so there's some extra money in that line. Maybe due to that lack of inspector, we can move some funds from that line into the professional funds line to be able to cover extra services from Chris and Bree, and maybe the person from Southampton who we might be able to get on to help with this surge. Knowing in advance that Brian's going to be out, we can start planning for that now and move that money from that item to that professional services line.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah.
Chris loves to do that, but she needs advance notice because she's busy all the time. So she's happy to do it. She just needs more than a week's notice.
Well, we typically know when there's going to be like a massive food truck event, right? Because they apply for permits. We know Food Truck Friday's happening. We know Thunder in the Valley's happening. We know those big events because we get advertised.
But she wasn't told in advance the last time early enough to get her to do them.
All right, so
they
we learned
called her
our
a
lesson.
week.
Allison, let's get Chris nailed down as soon as we get the in.
Yeah.
You're also going to have, it'll be the same situation like mine was. Our FMLA is unpaid. And so essentially there's going to be money left over because Brian's not going to be getting, like Brian has to use his own time. So there'll be extra money in the budget from if he were working, like how mine is, there's money left from my salary because I didn't get paid for a maternity leave. So I don't know if you can move that over for camp inspections and things before the end of the fiscal year, but that's an option too.
Yeah, that's probably a question from me to Lindsay in the mayor's office generally, and to the finance group. So yeah, we'll definitely, that would be like an appropriation and move some funds over to the professional services line item. Okay, so I've got that noted. That's a great suggestion. And also we know we have 5 months or 4 months till these camp inspections begin. So we can work with the regional inspectional team and Chris and hopefully get things lined up and get some training in the meantime to
Allison, remind me to talk to you tomorrow about cultural chaos. You've not lived through that yet?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, that's big. That's
Okay.
a 2-person operation inspection at least.
Okay.
And I'm not quite sure what Brian's date is in cultural chaos. So that might be
Yeah,
on
I'm
the
not
cusp.
sure. When is cultural chaos? Is it usually like
Beginning
June,
mid-June?
second or third weekend in June, Saturday
Okay.
in June. And they usually have meetings downstairs in the conference room every Wednesday for it. So we haven't seen them yet, but they'll start coming in and
Yep.
you'll want to go introduce yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think I came in last season just after cultural
After.
chaos. And I'm
Yep.
not sure off the top of my head what Brian's out of office date is.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right, so chugging along, unless there's any more conversation or discussion for the late permits. So, oh, did somebody have something?
Not me. No, sorry.
Okay.
I said not from me.
All right, so I sent out a proposed FY25 estimated fee collection. Oh, you know what? I just remembered one thing that I did want to mention is that we had a meeting with one of the technical assistance people from Permit Eyes, which is the electronic inspectional software, and we can do electronic payments through them. I think one of the big issues that I've observed is that the health department does every inspection pen and paper. All payments are done, like mailings and notifications come from like our emails, doesn't come from like the online system, and it comes in paper format in the mail for permit renewals. And also people have to pay in cash or check. They can't do an online payment for their permit and other fees. So that's one thing that we're like looking towards implementing to add a good amount of efficiency. So the regional, the PHE program has just gotten the WimWam software. So we have a tutorial set up with them in the next, I think, 2 weeks. And we just did the Permit Eyes review with the Permit Eyes folks just to see what the programs look like to hopefully implement electronic software sooner rather than later. I'm really hoping that helps standardize communications and fines and fees and all of that. Definitely additionally across like the other departments, building inspection and fire, who we talk with frequently about inspections and shared businesses. So hopefully that will add. Oh, go ahead.
So one of the things the state is working on right now, and it's an open procurement, so I can't say very much, but we're working on a data system that's going to allow for permitting, electronic fees, complaint modules for all residents within our state, and inspection programs. It's going to, we'll start presenting on it as soon as the procurement closes, but not that I'm saying that I don't think going through these routes is important, because I think it actually helps prepare us for the transition to the state system. But one of the things we could be thinking about is how we create electronic records for all of the things that we're doing to help prepare us for historical data to be input into the system.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. Yeah. Do you have a sense of like a timeline for that, Amy?
I know it will come out in iterative phases.
Okay.
I don't know which phases will come first. My guess is some kind of inspectional component, because that's what people are really excited for.
Yeah.
But I don't really know when the first phase will come out. It really will depend, like when the procurement closes and then when we assign someone. But it is really exciting to think like that's not going to be a budget line item that we have to sustain anymore, right? Like it's a short-term thing that we're going to start to prepare for.
That's great.
We'll help our inspectors and everybody get ready on the this electronic program, and then the state's going to cover the cost for eternity, right? Like it will be really great for us to be ready for that transition.
Definitely. Yeah. So what I'm hearing is it's worth it for us to still look towards either PermaEyes or the WimWam software, but just to know that coming up in the hopefully relatively near future that TPH will have that program. Great.
The full system needs to be developed by 2027 because that's when the funding expires. So we will have a fully operational data system, inspectional system, permitting system, complaint module, licensing system, all of it by the end of 2027.
Great. All right, that sounds awesome. I'm looking forward to that. So I want to move on to the FY20 or the proposed increase in fees over a period of time for the health department permitting fees. So this was initiated, the mayor requested that we look at reevaluating our fees. I know there was an increase in fees. Was it 2022? I want to say there was at some point in recent history, there was an increase in some of the fees and then a recategorization of food permits into risk-based permitting, which
That happened just prior to COVID.
oh, okay. So it has been a good number of
2020.
years. Okay.
Yeah, there was a lot of, footwork in, finding out what everybody did in their
Yeah.
communities. The categorizing, that was one thing, but the cost, and that was the reason for separation of risk 1, risk 2, risk 3, because risk 1 was the same price as risk 3 and 4, and
Yeah.
the work was not the same.
Yeah.
So we did that. The only one I think that went up was camps again, or
Okay.
it's due to go up. I think that was written in. I can't remember.
Yeah. So that's sort of my thinking here in this proposal. I want the board's feedback and then we'll go ahead and redraft the proposal, but to sort of selectively increase some of the permits that are more labor intensive on the health agent side, and then to just do standard incremental increases through FY28 to slowly come up to higher permitting fees. And so I don't know if you had a chance to walk through this on your own, or I'm happy to kind of walk through the form that I sent out. It's up to you all. I can just give you a sort of an overview of where these are. Let me see. Okay, so the FY estimated fees collected, it's hard to do this, hard to get like a good estimate, but I did the best I could based on the number of permitted locations, the risk-based permitting, and then the other types of establishments that fall into other permits. So the total food establishment permit income was $28,750. That was FY23. And then for body art, there were 4 permits for $700, tanning, pools, and recreational camps. Those other permits totaled $3,200. And so in all, FY23 was around $31,950. And then I'm sorry, this printed really strange. So leaving out FY 2024 because I just didn't have those numbers when I started this process. So looking towards FY 2025, this would be the initial step up increase. We would start, the way it's written out in this proposal is to start at a 15% increase the first year and then 10% increase in the consecutive years till FY 2028. And I just based the estimate off the numbers of permits we already have because new establishments might open, some establishments might close. It's hard to estimate that. But that would bring the total FY25 health department fees, permit fees to $37,735. And that's an increase of about $5,700 across the board for the establishments for 2025. And then the next step up, the next year's FY26 10% increase would increase the revenue by $3,774 across the board. FY27 would increase the revenue again by $4,100 across the board. And then FY28 would be the last increase of $4,500 across the board. Eventually increasing the revenue over the next 4 years to $50,226-ish for health department fees from the original $31,000.
The Mass General laws and the way they're written are saying we can't impose fees that we can't justify the cost of. So have we thought through the cost of what we're doing to like do the inspections, process the permit,
Yeah.
to the director, and then like compared that to like what we're proposing for a cost increase? Because we did this in one of my first years on the Board of Health, and like people were upset, and rightfully so. I mean, we had a massive jump during that time because we were so woefully under feed. But like, I want to make sure we're also not putting ourselves in a situation where we're like raising to match some kind of like ramp up schedule that we can't then justify the cost of if we were to be challenged by, any business.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So Brian and I sat down and went over sort of like the hourly like need of each of these permits, like in the renewal, like just renewing the permits, doing the inspections, potentially a reinspection. We don't charge for the first reinspection. We'll charge for the second and third reinspection. And I think that's an incremental increase too. So the potential of like 3 to 4 hours per permit, processing, renewing, and inspections is sort of like where we landed for most establishments. For camps, they're currently permitted for $250 for the season. And as we know, they're incredibly labor intensive and require a health agent and the public health nurse several hours each. And for $250, that's like a very good deal for them. I don't think that is coming even close to the cost of what it actually takes staff time for and processing the permits, the training, the outreach, follow-up, and inspections for 2 staff people. So for those in particular, I've put it in this proposal to increase that initially to $350 for the season, even though I still don't think the $350 meets the requirement for the hour that what it actually costs for the staff. I don't want it to be like a shocking fee increase for the establishments. Is that fine balance that you're talking about too, Amy?
Have you done a comparison to your proposed fees to area communities? Because I think also want to make
sure.
Yeah,
we have. So yes, and it's hard. It's a little bit difficult to do that because a lot of the surrounding communities don't do the risk-based permit fees. And so we have a couple examples that we do have a comparison scheme to, but it's really hard to do it across the board since a lot of communities don't use the risk-based permitting fees.
I think Framingham does. I mean, we could look at any
Framingham's. I think we do have Framingham. I'm happy to send you the analysis that was done for that, or to share that out, with the next draft of this, depending on how the board wants to move, or where the discussion leads.
Beth?
I would be interested in, I would want to know, that we're on par with other communities, and I trust that you've done due diligence. I don't know if, maybe reviewing those comparisons would be helpful before we make a decision as a board.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think let's look at some comps. I mean, I certainly advocate for health departments getting paid for the work that they're doing. So there's no question there. I just want to make sure that when people come to the mayor's office or to our office and start complaining that we're business unfriendly, or we're like pushing pushing the small businesses out, that we have a really clear justification for what it is we're doing and why we're doing it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm totally.
Nobody wants to be on the other side where we can't justify what it is we're doing. And so I would, before the board votes, I'd like to really make sure that what we're doing is justifiable, is comparable across to other communities that are permitting like we are. And that way we can defend when people come to the mayor and complain. We can very clearly say, here's all the data for why we did what we did.
So do you suggest that we actually, could we like get it written out, sort of like what the hourly cost generally is for a health agent inspection, the hours that it takes to do like, do you want us to get into like that nitty gritty of a justification? I'm okay doing that, but I want to.
I mean, I think things in a health department fluctuate so greatly based on so many different factors, right? I mean, we can set aside even the pandemic, just like the amount of complaints we get for housing. You could take I don't know if we track this. If we don't, we should start. Like the amount of complaints we get a year. How long does the average complaint take? What does a nuisance complaint usually take? And like you can extrapolate all of that out. Like how many complaints do we get for a food service establishment? You can track that all out on a spreadsheet and then divide that up and figure out kind of like, instead of like looking at like what is this food inspection take or that food inspection take, think about it like as a holistic picture for food, septic, housing, nuisance, and like, if we're tracking all the inspections we're doing, if not, then we should. And if you need a spreadsheet, you should reach out to East Long Meadow because it's a really good one that they have there.
Right.
We can start tracking it, and that will allow us to really clearly, with data, justify any cost increases that we have. And then, so in addition, like I don't think we need to like think it through, but data track it, and then looking at other communities who are similar size to us or similar permit type to us.
Yeah.
Say, not only do we have the data to defend that this is the staff hours that it takes to actually permit something like this and process it and to protect the residents of Easthampton, because that's really what it's all about, right? At the end of the day, it's not about like trying to penalize a restaurant for having a license here or penalize them for operating in our town. It's about protecting the residents and the travelers to Easthampton to know that they're coming here and they're spending their money here and they're going to be able to eat safe food, right? That's what it's about. They're sending the kids to camp in Easthampton and they know the kids are going to be safe because there's someone looking out for that. So we can justify what we're doing with the hours that we're doing it and that like-size communities are doing it. We can really clearly lay out a picture.
Sounds good.
I agree, Amy.
So we have some of that data already, but yeah, I'll look to like collecting more just so we can get maybe add some more examples of like other similarly sized communities. And yeah, that sounds great. And I'm totally in agreement. I don't want to raise fees if we can't justify them because we'll be getting the phone calls and yeah, we want to make sure that it's like an extremely fair process.
Yeah, and you know, this is for fiscal year 25, so we're doing this at the right time, I feel like, so that we can give, you know, businesses advanced notice and even include some of the information that we've gathered so it's fully transparent and it'll hopefully be better accepted.
That's a good point, Beth, too, is these increases wouldn't be implemented until the next renewal season. So we've got, you know, sufficient time to do an analysis and then, yeah, to sort of like slowly introduce the topic of the increases to the businesses in the area.
Sounds good. I don't think we have anything to make a motion on for this, right?
No.
We're just
Nope.
basically tabling it, getting more information. Okay.
Yep. Yep, this is just like totally draft format. Like I said, this came from a request from the mayor's office, and then the board, we discussed it, I think back in a little bit in October, a little bit in November. And so based on those discussions, I just sort of refined this proposal, and I'll continue to go back and refine. And we can look again at the February meeting to reevaluate and reassess, hopefully with some new data and information to add in. Okay, I think that's it. Are there any other thoughts or questions or discussions for the permit fee increase? Okay, great. And then any items not reasonably anticipated by our interim chair?
Not for me.
Okay.
So if we're all good, I will make a motion to end our Board of Health meeting on January 17th, 2024 at 6:46 p.m.
I'll second that motion. All in favor?
Beth, yes.
Amy, yes.
Did you say second that emotion?
Did I say that?
I think you did.
Such a long day. Did I say emotion? Jackie, you got to look at the video recording. And if I said second that emotion, I will sing us the, what is it? No, Temptations. Who did it last time?
I don't know, but
I just want you to know that I did that, I think, at my very first board meeting. Where I did that. So it's all good.
All right, I second that motion. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you so much.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Okay.
This government meeting is brought to you by Eastworks and our local cable subscribers.